The Indianapolis Colts finished this past season with a 9-8 record, which was good for second place in the AFC South division behind the Tennessee Titans. And this team put their fan base through a roller coaster ride of emotions this past season. Remember, Indianapolis started out really slow. They were 1-4. And then they got really hot mid-October, and they carried that momentum into November and pretty much the whole entire month of December. And during this stretch, they defeated teams like the 49ers. They blew out the Buffalo Bills. They defeated New England, Arizona. And many people, well, some people out there felt like the Indianapolis Colts could go on a run in the postseason similar to what the Cincinnati Bengals have went on, and they could be a potential dark horse Super Bowl contender. Well, unfortunately, that didn't happen because, one, Indianapolis didn't make the playoffs. And the reason for this was because they lost their final two games. They lost to the Las Vegas Raiders in a tightly contested contest. And then they were defeated by the worst team in the NFL, the Jacksonville Jaguars, some way, somehow. So Indianapolis missed out on their opportunity of the postseason. And many Colts fans probably have a sour taste in their mouth. And when you look at the state of the franchise for Indianapolis moving forward, like, you're going to have some money to spend in free agency. You have $37 million in some change in cap space. But you need to improve the wide receiver position. Now, T.Y. Hilton and Zach Pascal are expected to be unrestricted free agents. Now, at the moment, Indianapolis currently hasn't given any of those two guys new deals. So if they hit the free agency market, they're going to have to improve the wide receiver room, which even if they bring back T.Y. Hilton and Zach Pascal, they probably still should look to add some more talent via the draft or free agency to the wide receiver room, because like Michael Pittman emerged as a true number one receiver for Indianapolis. Now they just need some complementary pieces alongside him. And I think the offense could be really good for the next couple of years. Like, the wide receiver class is really loaded. So Indianapolis could draft a wide receiver in the third or fourth round, and he could be a really good number two. Or you could bring in some more guys in free agency, or you could bring back either Zach Pascal or T.Y. Hilton. Now, I doubt that they would bring back T.Y. simply for the fact that he has regressed over the last couple of years. He's getting up there in age. So if they were going to bring back a wide receiver, it most likely would be Zach Pascal, which he was pretty productive at times for Indianapolis. Then you have to worry about the defense, because you lost your defensive coordinator and Matt Eberflus, who took the Chicago Bears job, and you replaced him with Gus Bradley, which Gus Bradley was the defensive coordinator for Las Vegas, which the Raiders defense was pretty solid. So you look at Indianapolis, they have a really talented defense. Okay, you got Darius Leonard, you got DeForest Buckner. Like, Indianapolis has a really solid defense. However, you do have some question marks at corner with Xavier Rhodes being an unrestricted free agent, TJ Carey. You're going to have to add some more depth on the interior of the defensive line. So there's definitely some spots that need to be filled on the defensive end. But overall, the Colts have a really good defense. And talent-wise, this is one of the most underrated teams in the league from a talent standpoint, because this team led the lead in Pro Bowl selections with 7. And I don't think enough people know that. And even though a lot of people probably don't look at the Pro Bowl as a major accomplishment or anything like that, it still is supposed to celebrate some of the best players from this year and the fans' opinions based off performance. And for Indianapolis, they had 7 players who were Pro Bowl selections. So that tells you just how talented of a roster this team has. But what's going to happen with Carson Wentz? Because there is speculation when it comes to Carson Wentz's future in Indianapolis. Frank Reich hasn't really committed to him as his starting quarterback for next season. So we don't really know what's going to happen. Now, what I think will happen, and I'm going to repeat this again because I don't want any of you guys saying that I'm spreading false news or anything like that. So what I think will happen is that Carson Wentz will remain the starting quarterback in Indianapolis. However, I do think that there is a possibility that Indianapolis could draft a quarterback in the upcoming draft. And although this quarterback class isn't really that great, there's still some diamond in the roughs that you can get in round 2 or round 3. So if Indianapolis is able to get their hands on Desmond Ridder, I think that could be a really good pickup, because then you could groom him for a couple of years, and then depending on how Carson Wentz performs, if you want to get rid of Carson Wentz, he could be your next man up, or if you want to keep Carson Wentz, he could be a very quality backup, which is something that you need when you have Carson Wentz as your starter, given his injury history. But we don't really know what's going to happen with Carson Wentz, but with the Colts having some cap space and some money to spend, I definitely feel like they're going to look to upgrade at left tackle. They're probably going to upgrade at wide receiver, and I still like where the Colts are at. Like, the Colts are right here. They're in the middle, okay? Like, they're trying to take that next jump. If you're a Colts fan, you're looking for this franchise to end up being put in that Super Bowl window with teams like Buffalo, Kansas City, and whatnot. And you probably could add Cincinnati to the mix as well. So for Indianapolis, you're wondering when that jump is going to happen. When are you going to take that next step into being a legitimate Super Bowl contender? Because you do have a really solid head coach in Frank Reich. Now, I don't know where you will rank Frank Reich. Some people may consider him a top 10 coach. Some people probably would have him on the outside looking in, probably around 12 or 13th ranked. But he is a really solid head coach. And when you look at how the season ended, like, it was pretty much, it looked like they were unprepared. Because anytime you get upset by a team like Jacksonville, you have to go into that game kind of unprepared, because from a talent standpoint, Indianapolis should have beaten Jacksonville, and even if they struggled, they should have beaten Jacksonville by at least 3 points. But the fact that they lost that game kind of shows you at times they can be inconsistent and they can kind of have some slip-ups. But I do think that Frank Reich is a really good coach. You look at how the front office is run, probably one of the best ran organizations in the league at the moment. So, Colts fans, I know you're frustrated because you're wondering when you're going to have your moment. Because Cincinnati came out of nowhere when nobody expected it, and now they're in the Super Bowl. So you're wondering if Indianapolis is ever going to have that kind of season, and when is it going to happen? Could it happen next year? It most definitely could, because you look at how talented this roster was this past season. I expect this roster to be just as good next season because of the cap space that they have available to them to address some of those positions of needs. And then I don't really think Carson Wentz was that bad. Like, yeah, he had his moments, but overall, I felt like he had a pretty solid season. And if you improve the wide receiver position, you give him a good wide receiver to pair alongside of Michael Pittman, you're going to have a really good passing attack. And you look at what Jonathan Taylor has done, being in the MVP conversation, like, this is a really solid team. And I think that this is a team to definitely look out for during the offseason, because depending on how this offseason goes for Indianapolis, it's kind of going to determine where they're going to rank in the Super Bowl hierarchy. Are they going to be a team that could be in the mix? Or are they going to be a team that could be on the outside looking into that conversation? Because that's kind of where this Colts franchise is. Like, they're right here, and they're trying to take that next jump into that conversation of being a legitimate championship contender. They're just not there yet. They're missing a couple of pieces. So you're wondering, what are the pieces that they're missing? So you guys let me know how you guys feel about the state of the franchise for the Indianapolis Colts.